Christmas and happy holidays to all of my friends on YouTube, to everybody who watches Metalhead Central on a regular basis. I hope you all have a fantastically awesome holiday season. Here we are, my friends. Another year is almost done. 2018 has flown by, and I'm happy to say it's flown by with a lot of great new music. And it also means we're almost at the end of my first official year on YouTube. This is the first year that I have been regularly posting things on YouTube. Yeah, I got a little crazy around October when I got sick, and back in May when I graduated. But I want to thank everyone who has watched this video, or watches these videos, I should say. And I want to thank every one of the 9 people who have subscribed this year. I truly am thankful for you guys. You guys are why I do what I do. The people that watch these videos, even if they don't subscribe, are why I do this. I hope to up that view count next year and continue to push out exciting new content for you guys to see. Also, just want to let you know before we get into this, I have started doing professional wrestling event reviews on my channel as well. Hopefully, you guys can get on and see those. And even if you don't have an interest in pro wrestling, if you have a friend, a neighbor, somebody you know who does, let them know to come on over and check them out. And hopefully they will enjoy them. Again, thank you so much for making this year-long journey with me. For the record, I listened to Azusa, like I said I was going to. Can't really give him anything higher than a 60. It was kind of a boring listen. It wasn't really anything too special. There were some interesting things that their lead vocalist was doing with her voice. Sort of like a ginger kind of a deal, but other than that, nothing. But now that that's done, let's get into it! Hello, you crazy people, and welcome to another installment of Metalhead Central, the show where I take an honest look at metal and rock albums and give them an honest ranking. I'm your host, Caleb, and today, this is the big one. The top 10 albums of 2018. The top 10 albums that have struck me in a brilliant way in both the hard rock and heavy metal world. Now, I do want to preface this. This is just my opinion. If you hate it, that's fine. If you agree with it, that's fine. If you have a top 10 of your own, I would love to see it. So leave a comment down below. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's do this. So basically what I did was I took a look at every single album that I've reviewed for this channel this year, and even some that I hadn't, and judged them accordingly. Basically, if an album got a 90 or higher in a review, or if I felt like I would have given it a 90 or higher if I would have reviewed it, then it was in contention for this list. Like I said, there are a couple albums on here that I didn't get to review, but they were so good that I couldn't leave them off the list. So, let's get started with number 10, Between the Buried and Me, Automata. Yeah, I'm putting both on here. For someone who wasn't a professed fan of progressive metal, I really enjoyed my trip through Between the Buried and Me's double album released over the course of the summer. Automata 1 was an interesting ride, with an interesting balance between lighter, softer tones and the more heavy stuff that I'm used to hearing out of this band off of albums like Colors. Condemned to the Gallows should be a dark horse for one of the best metal songs of the year. Yellow Eyes, Blot, also good tracks off of this album. However, for me, the thing that got this on this list, and not just an honorable mention, was Automata 2. BTBAM really hit the nail on the head with the second part of this record. Voice of Trespass was one of my favorite metal songs of the year, with its jazz influence, and it was just an all-around enjoyable listen. I give bands a lot of crap for putting out 10-minute plus songs, but Between the Buried and Me made it work on both ends of this album. Kudos is in order here. This was definitely the prog metal album of the year. At number 9, we have Ancestors with Suspended in Reflections. I am a sucker for atmosphere. Anyone who watches this channel on a regular basis knows that I am a big sucker for atmosphere. And Ancestors deliver here in ways I didn't think possible. I was blown away by the opening track on the album Gone, and it only delivered more from there. Lying in the Grass was a really good song, as well as album closer The Warm Glow. The album just envelops you, and it makes you feel like you're floating on clouds, which is what Atmosphere is supposed to do when it's used right. Arcona, take a note. Ancestors did Atmosphere right on this album, and it is definitely deserving of the number 9 spot on this list. At number 8, we have Pig Destroyer with Head Cage. Again, another genre that I'm not a fan of at all is grindcore, but Pig Destroyer really put something out there that not only hooked me, but intrigued me with its subtle use of melody over the harsher tones typical of this subgenre. Songs like Army of Cops, Concrete Beast, Dark Train, and Mount Skull had me tapping my foot and trying to figure out what it was that kept me hooked in a subgenre where I normally don't get hooked by the message or the music. By the third track on most grindcore albums, I've shut it off and started listening to something else entirely. But Head Cage had me from the intro all the way to the end. This is actually the second Pig Destroyer album I've heard, and both have hooked me from beginning to end. Maybe that's because they're not trying to force a progressive left-wing message down my throat in every song. For the record, I would say that about a right-wing band as well. This is definitely a great recording to add to this grindcore legends discography. If you haven't heard Head Cage, I highly recommend it. Number 7, we have Primordial with Exile Amongst the Ruins. Another example of a band beautifully weaving breathtaking atmosphere with this soul-crushing black metal. This black-ish metal album was crawling with wonderful dynamics, and it showed from beginning to end. Nail Their Tongues is another song that I think is a dark horse for Metal Song of the Year, amid an entire album full of terrific cuts. To Hell or the Hangman, Where Lie the Gods, Upon Our Spiritual Deathbed, and the title track were all excellent songs. This was just a terrific, terrific album from a group that I never heard anything from before. Atmosphere and black metal combined to create something great here. Go listen to it if you haven't. At number 6, we have Amorphous with Queen of Time. Now, this is the first album on this list that I didn't get to properly review because it was released at a turbulent time in my life. It was released in May. College graduation and all that was happening. So I was kind of busy. But I sat down this week and listened to it all the way through, and boy was I impressed. I loved the first half of the album, and I liked it a little more than the second half. The second half was still really good, but the first half was just wow. Both halves, though, are filled with this melodic, folk-y, symphonic-y, death-y metal that screams at the ears and melts at the heart all at the same time. Tommy Yautzen is at his best here, lyrically and vocally, and the band wraps itself around that. The Bee, which rightfully made top 5 on Loudwire's Metal Songs of the Year list, is a fantastic presentation of death metal, or should I say melodic death metal goodness. Message from the Amber, Amongst Stars, Daughter of Hate, The Golden Elk, Wrong Direction. The list goes on and on of great songs off this album. This is one I'll definitely be listening to over and over and over again. At number 5, we have Five Finger Death Punch with And Justice for None. Okay, I'm going to get flack for this, but I really enjoyed this album. It's the perfect blend of radio rock and heavy metal. I know, a heavy metal band is not supposed to be commercially successful. But like I've said before on this channel, I don't buy that one bit. One of the reasons I love these guys is that they consistently put out albums that they know that their fans want to hear. They are not to impress the critics, they are not to impress anybody except the thousands of people who listen to their music on a daily basis. There really isn't a bad song on this album except for one. Rock Bottom, I avoid it like the plague. It's just not good. Other than that, the songs here, excellent. Their cover of Gone Away, I believe, is better than The Offspring's original track. Now, I'm not hating on The Offspring's original track. That's one of the best punk rock songs of all time. But Five Finger Death Punch took it and they made it better by slowing it down and making the music fit the vocals. The Offspring's original, the music just didn't feel like it fit the vocals. This is a guy who's crying out because something important to him, his girlfriend. I know that's kind of a cliche subject for a song, but it came from the heart because it was real life. His girlfriend had been ripped away from him due to a car accident. And yeah, I know the Offspring are a punk band, and they're one of my favorite punk bands, but why would you play sort of upbeat punkish stuff over lyrics that are just so soul-wrenchingly sad? Five Finger Death Punch took this, slowed it down, threw a piano in there for good measure, and I just can't sing the praises of their cover of this enough. Other songs that were great: Bloody, Trouble, their cover of Kenny Wayne Shepherd's Blue on Black, Will the Sun Ever Rise was an excellent album closer. Just like Amorphous', the list goes on and on of great songs off this album. I'm a proud owner of it, and I listen to it very frequently. It rides around in the car with me a lot. If you haven't heard it, I highly recommend it. It's a melodic and aggressive great time. Number 4, Saxon with Thunderbolts. Now, when I first sat down to listen to this album, I was afraid it was going to be Iron Maiden ripoff, you know. Boy, was I wrong. This album had its own flair and its own character. You know, I think when people think of NWO BHM bands, Iron Maiden is just the one that jumps to mind. But Saxon really crafted something well here. The song Sons of Odin alone makes them different from Maiden. Also, it has one of the coolest album covers on any album released this year. Cool, right? But Sons of Odin wasn't the only great track on this album. The title track, Nosferatu, The Secret of Flight, and the Roadie song, a song written by a rock band, a song written by a metal legend about roadies, the people that really don't get a lot of appreciation. And that was what sold it for me, was basically the lyrical content. It's very well written, but the lyrical content just saying, hey, we love you guys are awesome, that was really cool. But they were all great cuts on an album, again, full of memorable music. This was new wave of British heavy metal at its finest, and this legendary band can add this great album to their discography with a heck of a lot of pride. They struck gold with this one. At number 3, we have Breaking Benjamin with Ember. What can I say about this band that I didn't say when I reviewed this gem of an album? Breaking Benjamin is probably my all-time favorite hard rock band, and this is a shining example of why. As I've gone through and listened to it over and over again, it's grown on me. It's grown on me a lot. I remember in my review of this, I said, it wasn't as good as Dark Before Dawn. And that was a bunch of bull, because this album is equal to, if not better than, Dark Before Dawn. The dynamics of this album just flow. The songwriting is impeccable. The lyricism is outstanding. I just cannot fault this album. It's Breaking Benjamin at their best, and I cannot wait to see where the band goes from here. At number 2, we have the second album that I did not get to review, Sylvain, Atoms Aligned, Coming Undone. I gave this album a bit of a shout out in one of my previous videos, but I didn't get a chance to fully review it because I didn't know it was coming out. It was so barely marketed that I didn't realize that this talented young lady from France had another release dropping. I fell in love with her previous album, Wistful, and I've fallen in love with this one as well. There's not a bad song on this album. I love her use of atmosphere, and again with Ancestors and Primordial, it's used properly here. There's not so much as to mar the album and make it feel like you're suffocating in it, and there's not so little that you can't really classify it as being atmospheric. It's just a wonderfully crafted, well-defined piece of atmospheric metal that will have you floating on clouds for the entirety of its runtime. Before we get to my top pick, here are my honorable mentions for this year. And my number 1 rock and metal album of the year was Ghost's Prequel. How could it be another album but this? I first heard Ghost when I got curious about the group 2 years ago and listened to Square Hammer. Ever since then, it's been a heck of a journey through a fantastic discography. Here is an example of a band who has never made a bad album, but Prequel might be their best. The album flows like a river. It hardly ever stops. Each song works on its own, with every track being better than the last one. This album did not leave me disappointed in the least. I also enjoy how they've sort of gone away from being blatantly satanic in their lyrics. I know that the satanic nature of the group is supposed to be farcical, but still, the "we hate Christianity, long live Satan" shtick of bands like Behemoth and Deicide is starting to get annoying. On Prequel, Ghost have crafted one of the best rock albums of all time as they continue to evolve their sound. They hit number 1 on the charts with the song Rats, and Dance Macabre, as we speak, is quickly working its way up to the top. They definitely deserve it. I can't sing the praises of this album enough, and I highly recommend it to those of you who haven't heard it or haven't purchased it yet. It's brilliant in its musicianship, and it deserves the top spot on my list. So there you have it, my top 10 albums of 2018. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for coming with me through my first year on YouTube. I can't wait for the second one. I'm pumped for the releases for next year. Slipknot, Within Temptation, Demon Hunter just announced they're putting out not one but 2 new albums. I'll be reviewing them all and lots more. And hey, January 11th, Soilwork dropping a new album. That will definitely be one that will be featured on this channel. Hopefully, you'll join me for more Metalhead Central after Christmas. We'll start in January with a review of Legion of the Damned's new album. It drops on January 4. So, I'll grab that one, give it a listen, and get a review dropped. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, and I'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you, guys.